Have you ever noticed how we're all kind of obsessed with secret societies, like the Order of the Phoenix in Harry Potter, the Hawkins National Lab in Stranger Things, or even all the crazy cult stuff in Riverdale? There's just something so intriguing about that vibe of, there's a hidden world right here, and I have no idea what's going on. And then, when you find out that world has magic, werewolves, and some intense family drama, that's when things get really interesting. That's exactly the kind of energy you get in The Order, a series that mixes college fraternities, dark magic, and werewolves, all set in a Canadian university. Think Harry Potter meets Twilight, but with one foot in horror and the other in dark comedy. And the best part? The plot twists are wild, like,
bro, what are you talking about, man?
So today on the channel, The Order, a show that feels like Hogwarts, but with werewolves, family drama, and way more trouble.
I give my life to the cause.
We first meet Jack Morton visiting his mother's grave, setting a pretty gothic vibe. He's anxiously waiting for a letter from Belgrave University. Meanwhile, at the university, Dean Vera Stone, who comes across as a total powerhouse, is putting her foot down about accepting Jack into the Hermetic Order of the Blue Rose, even though another member has already sent him a rejection letter. But Vera doesn't take no for an answer. She performs a sinister ritual, and just like that, the rejection transforms into an acceptance letter with a full scholarship. Harry Potter would be jealous. As Jack is packing, his grandfather Pops drops a bombshell. College is just a cover. The real mission is to infiltrate the Order to get revenge on its leader, a guy named Edward Coventry, whom his grandfather blames for Jack's mother's death. Arriving at Belgrave, Jack is immediately confronted with a hazing ritual, but he refuses, saying he's waiting for a different fraternity. He meets his tour guide, Alyssa Drake, and, like any good protagonist, picks a fight on his first day with a student named Weston after asking about the Order.
Asking a question.
Well, you're asking too many fucking questions.
Shortly after, Weston turns up dead. Jack becomes a suspect, but Alyssa provides him with an alibi. Vera warns him to stay in line, but then he finds a blue rose and a mysterious invitation on his bed. The Order's test begins, a scavenger hunt for a coin. Jack, who's smarter than he looks, deciphers a clue and finds the coin inside a giant chess piece. Following another clue, he discovers a secret entrance to the Order's temple. There, he spies on Vera, Alyssa, and other members performing a magic ritual, confirming that this whole thing is for real. He tells his grandfather everything, who isn't surprised and reinforces the mission, hinting that the Order practices human sacrifice. Things just got serious. After failing one of the Order's tests, Jack is attacked by a creature he swears is a werewolf. He tries to warn the secret society's members, including Alyssa, but no one listens to him. It's the classic nobody believes the hero trope. Determined, Jack and his grandfather, Pete, become a low-budget version of the Winchester brothers and start investigating. Meanwhile, Alyssa, who's no fool, also grows suspicious of the official story and finds evidence that a supernatural creature did indeed attack the grounds. Jack teams up with another student, Randall, to hunt the creature. Their plan? Use one of the Order's new recruits, Gabrielle, as bait. Alyssa shows up to chew them out, but ends up joining them. They follow Gabrielle to a party, where she's attacked by a hooded figure, except it wasn't a werewolf, but a super strong clay golem, like a mini-Hulk made of clay. The creature lunges at them and beats them up, but suddenly stops and runs off. Jack figures out that the golem was created by Gregory, a neophyte who joined the Order after the recent deaths. Back in his dorm room, surprise, his roommate Clay is the golem. Clay attacks Jack, who manages to deactivate it by erasing a letter from the word on its forehead, like a magical Control-Z. Jack crashes Gregory's initiation ceremony and exposes everything. Grand Magus Edward Coventry uses magic to force the golem to reveal that its creator was Gregory's mother. Shocked, the Order expels the woman. Coventry is so impressed with Jack's actions that he invites him to join the Order. Jack accepts, and then comes the "Luke, I am your father" level plot twist. Coventry is his long-lost father, the very man he and his grandfather plan to destroy. Jack wakes up in the biggest movie cliché, shirtless and confused in an abandoned house. He's confronted by Randall, Hamish, and Lilith, who reveal themselves as the Knights of St. Christopher, a secret society of werewolves. And the big news? Jack is now one of them, chosen by the wolf-hide Silverback.
Silverback's been dormant for 50 years, and he picks this dumbass?
Jack thinks it's a prank, but then he throws up the remains of a deer and realizes the night was truly wild. He refuses to join and bolts, but the Knights make it clear, either he joins the club or they'll kill him. Meanwhile, in the Order, Vera and Coventry are discussing a memory wiping spell they used on the entire campus, like the Men in Black of magic. Coventry is extremely intrigued by Jack, who survived the golem and wasn't affected by the memory wipe. To save her own skin, Vera throws Alyssa under the bus. Speaking of whom, Alyssa is now Jack's mentor in the Order, and for for his first task, she has him doing magical cleanup duty. Basically, his first magic lesson is cleaning up other people's messes. Later, at an order party, Coventry performs a spell that turns lead into gold, but it causes Jack excruciating pain. Randall shows up and explains the problem. The Order's magic and his werewolf side are like oil and water, or better yet, like trying to run an iOS app on an Android. Randall then convinces him to become a double agent. Now he's a werewolf spy embedded in an order of magicians. To top it off, Jack tries a simple spell, but the act nearly forces his wolf transformation. He manages to suppress the beast and complete the magic, beginning to understand the war raging inside him. Covered in blood, Jack Morton thinks he's become a murderer, having killed his ethics professor while in his werewolf form. His roommate Randall, who's also a werewolf in the Knights of St. Christopher, is basically like, so what? Worried, Jack goes with Randall to another professor's house, a Professor Benson, but she's vanished. They later find out she's in the hospital after a car crash. Meanwhile, Alyssa Drake quits her post as Jack's mentor to work out a project for the big magic boss, Edward Coventry. She's found a piece of an ultra-powerful book, the Vade Macum Infernal, and her own mentor, Vera, warns her that Coventry is a master manipulator. Randall takes Jack to the Knights HQ, but he walks into a trap set by the other members, Hamish and Lilith, who want to put him down for using forbidden magic. Randall lies to save him, and Jack gets locked in the cellar. There, he discovers that if the victim's heart isn't devoured, the spell weakens and finds a new target, which explains Benson's accident. With this info, he proposes an alliance with the Knights to take down Coventry, and Hamish agrees to a trial run. At the same time, Coventry and Alyssa enter the dream world to retrieve another piece of the Vade Macum, and here comes the plot twist. A flashback shows it was Jack himself, the werewolf Silverback, who caused Benson's crash, not to kill her, but to save her from the death spell. The guy's a twisted hero. After making up and kissing Alyssa, Jack identifies new magic practitioners and convinces the Knights to let him try a no-kill plan, betting his own life on its success.
No alliance. I give my life to the cause.
Jack Morton is all fired up after his initiation into the Knights and convinces the crew, Hamish, Randall, and Lilith, to go out hunting for evil. The patrol goes horribly wrong when a ghoul attacks their car and mauls Randall. Meanwhile, Grand Magus Edward Coventry announces he's going after the remaining pieces of a sinister book, the Vade Macum Infernal, despite warnings from his second-in-command, Vera. Out of nowhere, a banished necromancer, Renee, shows up at the Order's temple, dying of cancer. She strikes a deal with Coventry. She'll use a magical device called a necrophone to find the book's pieces if he cures her. His plan is to use a dangerous elemental transfer ritual. Jack finds out everything from Alyssa and offers to go undercover to sabotage the spell. He even manages to mess up part of the ritual, but Alyssa takes the blame to protect his cover and ends up banished from the temple. Racked with guilt, Jack confesses everything to Coventry, who surprisingly forgives him. The Knights uncover the truth about the ritual. The elemental transfer cures one person by passing their fatal disease to 5 volunteers, who were paid for it. The spell only becomes permanent if they die from the illness. Lilith tries to stop the volunteers from being transported, but Jack transforms into the werewolf Silverback, shows her who's boss, and makes her back down. The ritual happens, Renee is cured, and the 5 volunteers die. Except they don't. The Knights discover they're still alive, hooked up to machines. They realize they can reverse the spell if they kill the 5 before the disease does.
Just kill me. Just kill me.
I'm not sure I can do this.
Call it mercy.
While Jack and Alyssa spend the night together, the newly cured Renee is attacked in her bed by a dark, tar-like entity that forces itself down her throat. Jack and Alyssa are confronted by the necromancer Vera, who tracked them to get back the necrophone they stole. To show she's not messing around, Vera kills a golem from a distance and threatens to kill Alyssa, Jack, and his grandfather Pete if the device isn't returned. Vera lays it all out. Edward Coventry killed her sister Renee, making them common enemies, but when she drops that she knows a secret of Jack's, he freaks out and bolts. Meanwhile, the Knights Randall and Hamish investigate a series of murders and discover the victims were attacked by a werewolf. Vera sends another golem after the couple, which kidnaps Alyssa and retrieves the necrophone. The Knights warn Jack that the Order now knows they're werewolves and is hunting all of them. They then corner and kill the wolf that was terrorizing the campus, only to find out it was Kyle, one of their own. Vera uses the necrophone to chat with her dead sister. The advice from the great beyond: kill everyone. As a bonus, Renee also reveals that Jack is a werewolf too. Shortly after, the werewolf Silverback attacks and kills Vera's servants. Jack, after transforming back from the fight, finds Alyssa unconscious. When she wakes up, the first thing she does is call him a monster.
What are you? You're a monster.
There, Jack uses the necrophone to speak with his deceased mother, Chloe, and then comes the bombshell. Chloe reveals she loved Edward Coventry and wanted to be with him forever. His grandfather, Pete, can't handle the shock. In a fit of rage and grief, he smashes the necrophone to pieces. Later, things between Jack and Alyssa have completely soured. She's pissed that he hid being a werewolf, and, to make matters worse, her grandfather smashed the necrophone before they could use it. Without a second thought, Alyssa breaks up with him and leaves. Jack returns home, and the drama continues, this time with his grandfather who disapproves of his romance with Alyssa, seeing her as an enemy. Frustrated with being treated like a little soldier, Jack storms out of the house. Over at the Order's temple, Alyssa runs into another acolyte, Gabrielle, who's bragging about discovering that some guy named Kyle was a werewolf. Shortly after, Alyssa gets an earful from her boss, Vera Stone, for the failed mission. But things get interesting. Vera gets promoted to the temple's council, and the first thing she does is confront the big boss, Grand Magus Edward Coventry. She questions his quest for the all-powerful book, the Vade Macum Infernal, and reveals that the book can be used to summon werewolves. With that, the council pulls its support for Coventry's search. Jack regroups with his crew, the Knights of St. Christopher, and finds out they didn't know about Kyle either. After a bar fight, they all go their separate ways. The next morning, Jack regrets sending a bunch of drunk texts to Alyssa. Meanwhile, Gabrielle starts using a magical gauntlet of truth to hunt for more werewolves. Alyssa goes to Pops' house to get the necrophone, but he blackmails her. She has to convince Jack to leave the Order in exchange for the device.
Then I want Jack out of the Order.
So tell him yourself.
I tried that, he won't listen. Which is why you're gonna convince him.
Alone, Pops uses the repaired necrophone and calls his late wife. The revelation is earth-shattering. Coventry murdered Jack's mother. To wrap things up, Jack finds Alyssa on campus to apologize, but gets a call from Hamish warning him that Randall is missing. The final shot shows Randall trapped in a cell, transforming into a werewolf right in front of a doctor, who makes it clear he wants to create more of them. Jack, Lilith, and Hamish are at the hideout, stressing over Randall's disappearance. And who shows up to help? Alyssa, offering a scrying spell that works like a magical compass. Lilith is still suspicious, but they eventually agree. Meanwhile, Randall wakes up in a cell, where Dr. Hemmings informs him he's part of a voluntary study. Randall is skeptical, but agrees when the doctor promises he'll get to see his friend, Ruby. The group follows Alyssa's compass to a building on campus. Lilith uses her powers to knock out a guard, and Alyssa magically unlocks a door. Inside, they split up. Jack and Hamish find Randall's cell, but can only watch his violent transformation before he's taken away. We learn that Hemmings is experimenting on Randall, using rejects to attack him. The bizarre part is that Randall manages to reverse his transformation, which shocks Hemmings. To force the issue, Hemmings throws his assistant Ruby into the cell. Believing she's in danger, Randall fully transforms. The group reunites and finds Hemmings' office. They're confronted by Randall, now wearing a lab coat. Hemmings appears and orders Randall to attack them, but the crew manages to escape with Randall. Back at the hideout, tensions are high. Randall blames Hamish for the situation, and the two get into a fist fight before being separated. Alyssa uses a spell to sedate Randall. Jack walks her home. There's a moment between them, but he pulls away, saying they're on opposite sides. As he's leaving, Jack sees a shocking sight. Edward Coventry, the head of the Order, picks her up in his car, revealing her betrayal once and for all. Edward and Alyssa are performing a sinister blood ritual to bind themselves to an ancient spellbook, the Vade Macum. He cuts his own finger, and she offers a bloody thumbprint, becoming a witness to the pact. Edward explains that the book, now alive, will magnetically attract its missing pieces. The surge of magic is so powerful that the Knights of St. Christopher feel it instantly. The group discusses the danger of Jack abandoning the Order and having his memory wiped. The next day, Jack's grandfather tries to talk him out of his plan for revenge, but Jack stands his ground and drops a bombshell.
Basically been working as a double agent for them. Okay, is that complicated enough for you?
Shocked, his grandfather ends up supporting his decision. Meanwhile, at the Order's temple, Vera confronts Edward about the death of a member. Edward not only takes responsibility, but also reveals he has activated the Vade Macum Infernal, and on top of that, orders Vera to kill Alyssa. He means business. Jack goes to the temple to have his memory wiped, but is repelled by the Vade Macum. He realizes the book is trying to reclaim a piece of itself that is locked in a magical vault. The spell's energy is so insane that his werewolf hide still Silverback, begins to violently tear itself from his body. Back at the Knight's house, they and Pete try to save Jack but are forced to remove the hide, which seemingly kills him. But he's not dead. Jack awakens in a kind of afterlife where he finds the deceased Amir. The place is a sort of repository for all human memories. There, Jack accesses a memory that isn't his own and discovers a way to stop Edward. He wakes up alive and healed and reveals that Lilith is being held prisoner by Edward. At that very moment, he receives a message from Alyssa asking for help. As the knights rush to the temple, Pete confronts Edward with a rifle. Using the book's power, Edward stops the bullet and makes Pete simply vanish, all in front of a horrified Jack and Alyssa. Jack is now out for blood, determined to take down Edward Coventry by any means necessary. Alyssa tries to rein him in, but the argument gets so heated that Jack's eyes glow. She convinces him to stay with the knights, who are facing a dilemma: save Lilith or stop Edward. To help, Alyssa drops a bombshell. Edward's ritual requires the sacrifice of his firstborn son, Maddox, which makes him vulnerable. Meanwhile, Edward, acting like a mob boss, tests council member Kepler's loyalty and sends her to hunt the werewolves. Jack and Alyssa devise a plan with Kepler to destroy an evil book called the Vade Macum. The recipe? A fancy potion which requires werewolf blood and a relic. Conveniently, Jack's grandfather had one stashed away. To make sure no one spoils the party, Jack locks Kepler in the garage. Trust, but verify. However, when they go to rescue Maddox, they find his house looking like a horror movie set and the guy is gone. At the Order's temple, things get tense. Edward is holding Alyssa hostage. Then Jack arrives and offers himself for the sacrifice, dropping the biggest soap opera twist. He's the true firstborn. The ritual proceeds. But, plot twist, the Jack on the altar was a golem, a clay puppet. The real Jack appears with Maddox and throws a memory-wiping powder on his own father. It's the old magical knockout powder routine. With the big boss out of commission, the knights go full werewolf and storm the temple, crashing the Order's party for good. Back home, the group celebrates, but the joy is short-lived. Alyssa and the Order show up and use the same powder on them, giving everyone a total memory reset. In the final scene, Jack is in the cemetery, remembering nothing. Alyssa approaches him like a stranger, and he asks for her name.
Sorry for your loss.
Hey, what's your name?
Meanwhile, at the Order of the Blue Rose, leader Alyssa Drake gets chewed out by Grand Magus Vera Stone because the memory wipe didn't take. To prove her worth, Alyssa decides to create a new werewolf from scratch by having a magical hide possess a neophyte named Diego. It's basically a DIY guide to making your own monster. But the makeshift memory spell starts to glitch. A high-pitched sound, audible only to wolves, triggers a mass transformation in the middle of campus. Jack, Randall, Hamish, and Lilith turn into werewolves in broad daylight, causing total chaos. Gabrielle sprinkles the magic powder on them, and Jack passes out. Seeing that Plan B has failed, Alyssa creates a more potent version of the powder and convinces Vera that the only solution is to bring the werewolves into the Order. She sends out mysterious invitations, luring the knights into the forest. They wake up the next day naked, covered in blood, with a dead body beside them, and no memory of what happened. A magical version of the hangover. Alyssa appears, restores their memories, and formally welcomes them to the Order. The catch? She only restored the memories she wanted them to have. Now, feigning loyalty, the quartet plans to destroy the Order from within. With their memories back, the Knights of St. Christopher become the Order's cleanup crew as punishment. While cleaning, they plot their revenge. But Hamish, the most level-headed of the group, warns them that now everyone knows who they are. Jack, meanwhile, is struggling to control his inner werewolf Midnight, who is thirsty for violence. Things get worse when a campus student mummifies and drops dead with everyone filming it. Vera, the head of the Order, sends the knights to clean a blood-stained altar, and when she uses magic, a strange symbol appears. The revenge plot gets more complicated when they discover the Order is like a global franchise with branches all over the world. They decide to hunt down the road practitioner causing the deaths instead. Lilith finds a spell to protect their memories but needs a rare cauldron. Alyssa then asks for Jack's help in finding the practitioner. In return, she offers him the cauldron. Jack accepts, and in the secret room, finds not only the cauldron but also the hide of Silverback, his former werewolf. He takes the hide, planning to merge it with his own. The attempt goes horribly wrong. Jack ends up in a sort of magical internet where the ghost of his professor explains that having two werewolf hides will kill him.
Jack, you got a big life decision ahead of you.
Unable to choose, he returns to his body. They find the rogue practitioner, Ellie, who uses a spell to knock everyone out. Back in the Beyond, the professor guides Jack to choose the silverback hide, which represents balance. When they wake up, they discover Ellie is dead. Alyssa takes the credit, but later confesses to Jack that it was an accident as her magic is on the fritz. To escape his controlling girlfriend, Jack uses cheerleading practice as an excuse. Meanwhile, at a bar, Randall and Hamish's fake relationship turns real when they kiss to throw off the Order's spies. Elsewhere, Lilith also shares an awkward kiss with Nicole before running off. It seems love is in the air, but no one is happy about it. The quartet meets up at their hideout, all fed up with their fake lives. They realize the Order has confiscated all their magical items, even Randall's werewolf hide. That's when Jack comes up with a brilliant idea, a magical heist. The plan is to steal back what's theirs, and while they're at it, plunder the Order's vault of artifacts, leaving the organization empty-handed. The initial plan was to tail Grand Magus Vera, but Lilith realizes only a magistratus can enter the vault. Jack then goes to console Alyssa, who's feeling down about accidentally killing someone. While comforting her, he secretly steals her access sigil with a spell. With the sigil, they enter a hallway, but a sinister inscription triggers a spell that separates them and forces them to face their worst fears. Hamish sees a ventriloquist's dummy, Randall is surrounded by cultists, and Jack hallucinates his werewolf killing Alyssa. Lilith, strangely, claims she saw nothing. Shaken, they meet at the bar. Jack recalls Alyssa mentioning an amulet that protects against the fear corridor, and Hamish recognizes that Vera wears a similar one. He goes to her office, distracts her with a drink, and steals the amulet. With its protection, they finally reach the vault, only to find it completely empty. All their work was for nothing. The jig is up for Jack, Lilith, Hamish, and Randall. Someone has completely cleaned out their apartment and taken all their magical artifacts. The prime suspect, of course, is Zekia, the demoness they hired. So they summon her for a little chat.
We command you, appear before us.
Oh, for fuck's sake, you again?
Meanwhile, at the Order's temple, Vera is desperately searching for a containment spell. Alyssa finds one, but warns that she won't lead the ritual because her magic is all bugged out. To test it, Vera asks for a simple water trick, but Alyssa fails spectacularly, making the water boil over. Seeing this disaster, Vera gives the task to another acolyte, Gabrielle. Back at the apartment, Zekia appears. The binding circle doesn't work, and she reveals their contract is void because Hamish wasn't present at the original summoning. A rookie mistake. She confesses to stealing the artifacts, but for another client who made a loyalty sacrifice, basically a demonic NDA that prevents her from stealing them back or revealing who hired her. In the middle of the chaos, Alyssa storms in, breathing fire and demanding to know where the missing artifacts are. Zekia overhears the argument and reveals she's not just any thief, but a Baroness demon. Alyssa then drops a bombshell. Rogwan, an Emperor demon who manipulates fear, is on his way. At the mention of his name, Zekia laughs and explains that Rogwan's MO is more psychological. He doesn't kill anyone, he just removes their fear so they destroy themselves. With this grim threat looming, the group agrees to split up. Alyssa, Hamish, and Randall rush to the temple to help Vera, while Jack and Lilith stay behind to try and convince Zekia to help them get everything back. Jack Morton arrives late to his ethics class and immediately gets into it with his girlfriend, Gabrielle, who won't stop texting him. During the lecture, Jack surprises the professor with a sharp answer, while Gabrielle is more shocked by his new hair color. To make matters worse, the professor announces the ethics midterm has been moved up to the next day. Later, Gabrielle confronts Jack about his hair, worried about their image as a couple, but he brushes her off, claiming he's depressed over Lilith's death. Soon after, Jack and Alyssa are summoned by Vera for a spy movie-worthy mission. They will pose as hostages in a negotiation with a rival magical society, the Sons of Prometheus. The goal is to find proof that they stole items from the Order. Meanwhile, Jack hatches a genius plan to cheat on his test. He asks his werewolf buddies, Randall and Hamish, to use a glamour spell and take the exam for him. But Gabrielle finds out they've recovered their memories and blackmails them into taking her test too. At the negotiation, a ritual connects the hostages. If one gets hurt, the one on the opposite side feels it too.
The binding is complete.
Jack and Alyssa are taken to the Prometheus base, where Alyssa becomes fascinated by the egregor, a hive mind that promises to fix her broken magic. Suspicious, Jack uses a distraction to investigate and discovers a barn with the trees that feed the egregor, but he gets caught. When he and Alyssa are cornered, she drops a bombshell saying, "We've decided," making it clear she has switched sides and joined the Sons of Prometheus. Grand Magus Vera Stone is in the middle of a heavy confrontation with Salvador, the leader of the Sons of Prometheus. He accuses the order of letting werewolves trespass on his territory, but Vera, sharp as ever, uses the rules of negotiation to buy time. Meanwhile, Jack and Alyssa are still being held captive. Alyssa is already paranoid, convinced Vera betrayed them and sent them to be sacrificed, but Jack still trusts their leader. To make matters worse, the local Prometheus leader accuses Jack of stealing magic and killing one of his men, which Jack denies, claiming self-defense. Elsewhere, Randall and Gabrielle play detective and break into Professor Cameron Foley's house. There, they not only discover that Foley knows they're in the Order, but also find a magical suit of armor that directly links him to the stolen artifacts. Back in captivity, Alyssa's condition worsens. She begins to suffer violent withdrawal from the Prometheus hive mind, the egregor. The pain is so intense that to save her, Jack surrenders and confesses to the murder. Just as Gabrielle arrives at the negotiation with the evidence against Foley, Vera gets the call about Jack's confession. She instantly realizes it was coerced and turns the tables with a shocking proposal: blood atonement. She will execute Jack herself at high noon. Salvador agrees, and the magical bond is broken. Alyssa, now recovered, decides to stay with the Sons of Prometheus. Vera and Salvador team up to hunt down Foley, but when the Knights and Alyssa arrive at the Prometheus camp, they find a horror scene. Everyone has been slaughtered with holes in their chests, revealing that a much more powerful enemy has entered the game. The Knights of St. Christopher, Jack, Hamish, Randall, and newcomer Nicole try a spell to reach the demon realm, but it backfires spectacularly.
Damn it, we're still in the den.
They're down in the dumps because they can't save Lilith, as the powerful incantations they need were stolen from the Order's vault. Hamish insists they should follow Vera's orders to regain her trust, while Jack and Randall are torn. Should they hunt for the stolen magic or rescue their werewolf, who was captured by the rogue practitioner Foley? After Nicole leaves, the Knights admit they lied about giving up the search, but still don't know their next move. Jack goes to check on Alyssa and finds her apartment a mess as she battles magic withdrawal, looking like she's going through a serious crisis. He tries to comfort her, saying he's been through rough patches too, but Alyssa feels abandoned and powerless, since Vera forbade her from using magic. Surprisingly, Jack defends Vera, explaining that she has a lot on her plate. He opens up, saying he's tired of being driven by anger and revenge. Jack admits that his fear of letting go of those feelings is tied to his fear of letting go of his father's memory, as their shared mission against Edward Coventry was what bonded them. Alyssa is touched by his honesty, and says his words give her hope. They share a hug, but the moment is cut short when Jack gets a text from Vera and has to leave, promising to help Alyssa if she needs it. Vera and Kepler find Cameron Foley's body murdered with magic. Despite Kepler's objections, Vera refuses to postpone the invocary vote, and to make things worse, orders the Knights of St. Christopher, Jack, Randall, and Hamish to be taken as prisoners to the temple. The Order's disciples show up at the Knights' house, telling them they're the prime suspects in Foley's death and that Vera's power is hanging by a thread. With few options, the Knights agree to be taken away in chains. At the temple, they try to explain to the council that yes, they captured Foley, but the real leader of Praxis is a werewolf named Salvador Grant. In the middle of the meeting, a disciple named Robert is hit by a bizarre spell, starts preaching about love, and then collapses, vomiting blood. Meanwhile, Alyssa is playing detective at Salvador's house and discovers she's a necromancer. Back at the temple, chaos erupts. The magical virus spreads. Another disciple dies the same way, and everyone turns against Vera and the Knights. During the chaotic vote for Grand Magus, Kepler, playing 4D chess, strikes a deal with the Order's celebrity members, like Jason Priestley and Ian Ziering of Beverly Hills, and manages to become the new leader. Once in power, she pins the blame for a recent theft on the werewolves. Jack finds Alyssa unconscious on campus and, to protect her, erases her memory of everything: magic, the Order, and even him. It's a total eternal sunshine of the spotless mind move. Vera, defeated, hands the powerful Vade Macum grimoire to the Knights to destroy. As they rip up the book, Randall finds a hidden page. And for the grand finale, Alyssa, now allied with Salvador, leaves with her. Alyssa Drake is performing a dangerous ritual to break a grimoire, declaring she can't live without magic before stabbing her own hand over a book. Meanwhile, Jack and Randall hear a strange buzzing sound and, disobeying the now former Grand Magus Vera's orders, investigate a Praxis hideout. Inside, they find piles of clothes and a puppy. The conclusion is grim. The Praxis members have been turned into animals. Jack confronts Alyssa, who uses magic to escape. He figures out her location based on her favorite pizza, Hawaiian with black olives. Yes, questionable taste. The Knights tell Vera everything. She's furious they let the traitor escape, but in a bizarre twist, promotes them to magistratus. Privately, she warns Jack that dark days are coming. At a celebratory party, Nicole discovers a spell that could rescue Lilith from the demon realm. The problem is, the spell needs an anchor, which is the locker containing Timber's werewolf hide, currently in Praxis's possession. To get the locker, Jack tracks down Alyssa, who's disguised as a cop, and they strike a deal. The locker in exchange for a heads up on the Order's next raid. To seal the deal, they spend the night together. At the same time, Hamish discovers that the magic Praxis is using is causing Tartarus eruptions, which could trigger an apocalypse.
Each one of these cataclysmic events was actually caused by an apocalypse eruption.
After using a truth potion on Hamish to learn the location of the raid, Jack warns Alyssa. The Order arrives at the Praxis hideout to find it empty. It was a trap. Jack meets with Alyssa and the Praxis leader Salvador to negotiate. Salvador demands a powerful artifact called the Force Factorum, but Vera refuses. In a shocking twist, Salvador reveals she is a demon, sacrifices herself, and causes a massive Tartarus eruption. Alyssa uses a ritual knife to absorb all of its power. Jack figures it all out. Salvador's sacrifice was employed to transfer the artifact's power to Alyssa, making her one of the most powerful people in the game. The drama kicks off with Vera Stone pissed at Jack Morton in an art gallery. She's furious that he prevented Salvador's suicide. After one of those heavy arguments about how to deal with Praxis, she unceremoniously fires him from the Order. Meanwhile, Hamish and Randall find Gabrielle unconscious and take her to the Knights HQ. Their conclusion? She was jumped by a werewolf, like some supernatural gang initiation, but the girl won't wake up for anything. Gabrielle awakens in a forest that is actually a kind of collective unconscious. There, she comes face to face with Kyle's ghost. He drops the bombshell. She is now the champion of the Werewolf Midnight, and her mission is simple and direct. Kill Jack to take Silverback's place. Basically, a coup in the wolf world. Gabrielle is haunted by visions of her own insecurities, but tries to resist the idea. On the other side, Alyssa Drake holds a funeral for Salvador and announces Praxis's new plan, to perform magic without sacrifice to cause magical eruptions. It's pure blackmail to force the Order to hand over the Force Factorum spell. They perform a ritual and boom, a massive eruption occurs. Worried about the chaos, the Knights decide they need to rescue Lilith from the demon realm. They try to use Gabrielle's newfound powers to open a portal, but the plan fails. Worse, a magical eruption hits the house, opening an unstable portal inside the hide trunk, and demons start crawling out. They discover the spell requires the sacrifice of a witch. In the end, Lilith is rescued, but she's come back. Different. She insists this isn't her home and demands to be sent back. Hamish runs to Vera for help, while Alyssa corners Vera in the temple, revealing she has stolen her magic. Jack arrives wanting to play the hero, offering himself as a sacrifice to end the war. But then, out of nowhere, Midnight, using Gabrielle's body like a puppet, appears and simply obliterates Alyssa. Jack is left holding her lifeless body in total shock.
Alyssa,